Hi, I'm Drex, and this is Introduction to Poi Spinning. In the last video we covered reel turns, in which you can turn from forwards to backwards with your poi, but always keeping the poi in front of you. In this video we'll cover an idea very similar to reel turns called tuck turns, where you do put the poi behind you, and they add just a little bit of extra style to your turns. We call these tuck turns because as we're turning, we get to tuck the poi behind the body as we move back and forth. To begin learning this technique, we're going to start off with the poi turning reverse in wheel plane, like this. And as it's coming up towards you, you're going to let it drop back behind your shoulder, and I'm going to turn around to face the opposite direction, 180 degrees away from where I started. Once I've done this, I'm going to let my hand come up and out and drag the poi with it. You'll note the poi is now turning forwards relative to me, where it started off turning reverse when I started this. Again, we let the poi drop behind the shoulder, we turn 180 degrees, and we pull the poi back out. We want to try doing this turning both ways. I just turned to the native side both times. Since the poi is in my right hand, I turned to my right, but I can just as easily turn to my left, like so. Get comfortable with both directions and then start to speed this process up a little bit. You can reset, by the way, by just doing a standard reel turn in between each. You want to try and go faster through it to the point where you're actually performing a loop behind your back rather than letting the poi stop like that. Eventually it should come to look like this. Or if you're turning to non-native side, like this. See the little loop behind my back? One way you can think of this is almost like you're trying to tag your shoulder blade, but turning before you can get all the way there. Now that we know how to turn from reverse to forwards, we're going to try learning how to turn the other way, from forwards to reverse. This is a little tricky because gravity is going to be working against you, but I know a few tips to get us through the process. Now, you're going to start off with the poi turning forwards in wheel plane like this, and we're going to practice turning to our non-native side, that is to our left. What you're looking to do is create a little loop behind your back and wind up with the poi turning reverse once you've completed the turn. Again, we're going to wind up doing a loop behind the back and switching to the poi turning reverse. Let me show you that from the other angle. It is a loop behind and coming out. Again, it is a loop behind and coming out. Okay, so how do we get there? Here's one method. You can try and imagine that there is someone standing behind you that you're going to try and tag with the poi, like so, shooting the poi out as if you're going to touch them. When you do that, you're going to turn away from the poi and let gravity do its work, dragging the poi down and switching its direction to reverse once you've completed the turn. Again, that is reaching back to tag and then just letting the poi drop into reverse as you turn. Now, this can sometimes lead to problems in form, in that people can shoot it past their elbow rather than underneath their armpit. And it's underneath the armpit that we're really looking to do here. But there are a couple ways that we can really push ourselves towards that kind of orientation. First and foremost, we can try wrapping the tether up and around the shoulder, like so. And you'll note, as I do this, it forces my elbow to bend and my hand to reach up in towards my armpit. That's exactly where we want it to be. As this happens, I turn 180 degrees, and I pull my hand out. The poi should automatically wind up going reverse. Again, that is, I let the poi wrap around my shoulder, I turn 180 degrees, pull my hand out, and the poi should automatically wind up going the right direction. Alternatively, I can also catch the tether in my armpit, turn, and let it drop straight out. Again, that is, I pinch the tether in my armpit, I turn 180 degrees, and I let it drop back out. With any one of these three techniques, what you're ultimately looking to do is just like going from reverse to forwards, we want to try and get this happening so quickly and smoothly that we get that little loop in behind the back as we go through. You want to start this off, of course, doing it in slow motion, whether it be your wrap, or whether it be your pinch, or whether it be your tag. But ultimately work to a place where you can do it as one smooth, continuous motion. You'll also want to try practicing this turning in both the native direction and the non-native direction. I've been turning the non-native direction the entire time. That is, with my poi in my right hand, I've been turning to my left. You should also try turning to your right. This will be really important when we get to using both hands with this move. Again, you want to imagine there's someone behind your back that you're trying to tag, like so, or wrapping the poi over your shoulder, turning, pulling your hand out, or pinching the tether, turning, and letting it drop. Either which way, again, the idea is that you want to try and get a loop in behind your back as you complete the turn. Here's what that looks like from the other angle. Now that you know how to perform this trick with each individual hand, we're going to start putting the two hands together, showing off a tuck turn with both poi. How we're going to start off with that is to have both of the poi spinning reverse in wheel plane and using the same techniques that we use with one hand. Namely, we're going to drop both of the poi back behind our shoulders, turn 180 degrees, pull them back out going forwards. Again, let's reset with a reel. We drop behind the shoulders, turn 180 degrees, and pull the hands and poi straight back out. We want to keep on working on this until we can do this as one smooth, continuous motion. Like so, creating two loops behind our back with the poi as we turn. Going from forwards to reverse, again, we're going to use the same tricks that we learned earlier in this video. Namely, we can either tag the person behind us, or we can wrap the poi over our shoulders and pull our hands back out, or we can catch the tethers, pinching them in our armpits before letting them go. Either which way, we want to try and get it to the point where we can do a little loop back underneath our armpits as we complete this turn. Now, putting the two pieces together, we have a couple options available to us. We can either turn back and forth across the same side of the body, so that when I'm going from reverse to forwards, I'm turning to my right, and when I'm going from forwards to reverse, I'm turning across my left. That way, my front side is always facing towards the audience. Alternately, we could also do this as a 180-degree turn, where I could turn to my left and then again to my left if I wanted to, thus turning my body completely around as I execute this move. Whichever one you choose to do, use the same method in order to get there, being able to switch back and forth instantly between the two tucks. Start by doing 1, 2, 3, 4 beats before tucking behind the shoulder blades. 1, 2, 3, 4 beats before tucking underneath the armpits. 1, 2, 3 behind the shoulders. 1, 2, 3 behind the armpits. And work your way down to 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, and then try and see if you can go directly back and forth between them, thinking armpits, shoulders, armpits, shoulders, armpits, shoulders. When you get to this point, it creates a very, very, very cool move for your audience, where you seem to be passing the poi back and forth in front of yourself and behind yourself. And again, you can either do it turning completely around, or keeping the same side of yourself facing the audience the entire time. We can also learn this trick in the other 3 timing and direction combinations. For example, in split time same direction. This will, however, require that we change slightly how we're thinking about where the tucks happen. Let me show you what I mean. When going back and forth between the two sides, I have to pick one and then the other hand to do a tuck. For example, when going from reverse to forwards, I go left first, then right. The two are staggered. When I want to go back the other direction, the easiest way for me to do it is to go right, then left. You'll note, the directions that I'm turning in, I'm always choosing whichever poi is in the side that I'm turning away from to tuck first. For example, when I turn to my left, my right hand poi tucks first. When I turn to my right, it's my left hand poi that tucks first. Now, if you want to, for an added challenge, you could always make it the same poi that tucks first. For example, I could always make it my left, and thus I can switch straight back and forth, like so. The problem here is that both of the poi wind up behind my back at the same time as I'm going from forwards to reverse, so be very careful with your planes here to avoid any kind of tangles. Performing these turns in split time opposites is really fun because it allows you to do both the shoulder blade as well as the armpit tuck at the same time. For example, I'm starting off with my right hand going reverse, my left hand forwards, and as I turn, my right hand is going to tuck behind my shoulder blade and my left hand is going to tuck underneath my armpit. I'm going to switch it up now so that my left hand goes shoulder blade, right hand armpit, going back and forth like so. Together opposite actually presents us with a lot of the same challenges that split time same direction did. Namely, it requires us to stagger our tucks as we're going back and forth. As I'm going from left to right, it's left right. As I'm going from right to left, it's right left. One thing that we can do here that actually has really interesting results is we can agree to not tuck one of our hands as we're going across. Say I can decide to only tuck the hand that's going over my shoulder, like so. Or, one that I personally prefer, I can choose only to tuck the poi that's going under my shoulder, in my armpit, like so. I personally think that this move looks really cool in and of itself, especially when done straight back and forth, like this. Whichever one you choose to do is completely up to you, but just know, all of these are potential options. Poi tricks of this type that involve having the hand trace a line along the body as well as having the poi shift which side of the body it happens to be on are often called body tracers. Tuck turns are usually the first type of body tracers that most poi spinners learn. Thanks for watching and enjoy the flow. Hey guys, so this series exists for one reason and one reason only, and that is the amazing support of my backers on Patreon. They have been allowing me to tackle more ambitious topics like this one and to create long series rather than just having to do one-off videos. And it's been totally awesome. So if you're getting anything out of these series, then please hop on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up to support them. You can sign up for as little as $1 a month, and that little bit of support helps so much in being able to create these pieces of knowledge to put out there to the wider flow arts community. So for those of you guys already on Patreon, thank you so much for enabling me to do this work. And for those of you guys out there watching, thank you for tuning in as well.